Ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Depp has essentially won his defamation case. Well, he did. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to Amber Heard winning the counterclaim. And we're going to get to who won the most money, which was Johnny Depp. Not that he needs the money, but I think it was the principal. And hit subscribe to this channel if you want to support these live streams. Your super chat is extremely important. So if you want to talk about this trial, the Durham Pro Special Counsel, obviously disappointment yesterday, go ahead, ladies and gentlemen, via super chat, because I don't have $20 million in venture capital funding like some people, like some channels. So your support is greatly, greatly appreciated. Jury sides with Johnny Depp on lawsuit. So we will discuss. This is very, very interesting. We'll go ahead and discuss what happened. A jury on Wednesday awarded Johnny Depp more than $10 million in his libel lawsuit against ex-wife Amber Heard, vindicating his stance that Heard fabricated claims that she was, by Depp before and during their brief marriage. The jury also found in favor of Heard, who said she was defamed by Depp's lawyer when he called her allegations a hoax. The jury awarded her $2 million. However, I believe Johnny Depp got more than $10 million. So let's just see here. $15 million. So Johnny Depp got $15 million. Johnny Depp triumphs in defamation case against Amber Heard with $15 million decision. Johnny Depp has won his defamation lawsuit against ex-wife Amber Heard. A Virginia jury decided Wednesday with cheers going up outside the courtroom from a crowd of Depp supporters who gathered there. Inside the courtroom, a Heard kept her eyes downcast as the jury's decision that she had lost her countersuit was read. Okay, so she says here she lost her countersuit. The jury awarded Depp $10 million in compensatory damages and $5 million in punitive damages. All right, so the jury awarded, the jury awarded Depp $10 million in compensatory damages and $5 million in punitive damages. The latter was reduced, the latter was reduced by the judge to a statutory cap of $350,000. So he has about $10,350,000 that he's won. The jury also awarded $2 million in compensatory damages to Heard in her counterclaim and no punitive damages after finding 1 point of her lawsuit valid. So she owes him $8 million? So if I'm reading this correctly, Johnny Depp just got $8 million from his ex-wife. So that's, I think, and exactly, it's the lawyers got a lot more, got probably almost as much. Wow, very interesting. I know people are like, I'm not interested in this at all, but it's like, it's a kind of a big story. Everyone's talking about it, so I do appreciate the viewers who are interested in my take. But after the disappointment yesterday with the Durham Pro Special Counsel, and we'll get to that in a second. This is actually an interesting. I actually sided with Johnny Depp just because I did not believe that she was truly frightened of him. Now, generally, I'd side with the woman, but in this case, because of the allegations when they were made, the fact that I did a couple segments on this that nobody saw, but there were articles written about him, one in the Washington Post and one, I believe, in Refinery 29. They didn't mention his name. So what's the point of accusing somebody without actually accusing them? It was almost an accusation by innuendo. And so it was almost an accusation also by somewhat hearsay or gossip. And so if you're going to accuse somebody, accuse them outright. And so the articles written that Depp viewed as defamatory did not actually state his name. And I found that very bizarre that they didn't state his name. And if you're going to claim that you are this champion of truth and virtue in a time when, people's voices need to be heard, no pun intended, then don't just write an article and ask your lawyer, what is the best legal, what's the best way to circumvent a lawsuit? Okay, we're just going to write an article without actually using his name. That's not really helping anybody. That's not helping women in dysfunctional relationships. That's kind of doing the opposite. But here, the verdict from a jury of 5 men and 2 men came after nearly 13 hours of deliberation spanning 3 days. The turbulent defamation trial, which started April 11th and took place over the last 6 weeks, saw Depp and Heard trade disturbing allegations against the backdrop of social media, a source that tilted heavily in the Pirates of Caribbean star's direction. Also, the thing is, you have Pirates of the Caribbean, not like he lost his ability to work. So that's a huge issue. He lost his ability to work. And that is something that you can't just write an article about somebody, don't use his name, insinuate that he is just horrible monster, and then ignore the repercussions, the financial repercussions. So one would assume Johnny Depp's a millionaire, but we don't know that. And if he's not working, he might not, remain, financially stable. So Amber Heard's article hurt him financially. And that was the main thing. It hurt him financially. That's what, you have to prove in a defamation case or a libel case that you were hurt, that you were harmed in terms of, you were harmed financially. So his role, Jack Sparrow, was taken away from him. And he really made that franchise. It was really Johnny Depp that made that franchise. A source close to Depp said Wednesday, "No matter what happens, I did get here and I did tell the truth, and I have spoken up for what I've been carrying on my back reluctantly for 6 years," Depp said last week on the witness stand after calling her allegation ridiculous, humiliating, ludicrous, painful, savage, unimaginably brutal, cruel, and false. All false. Some of the allegations made, by the way, were bizarre in that you would think that she would have called law enforcement immediately. Or you would think that she would want to have called law enforcement immediately. And Depp filed a $50 million, and she didn't. So that's also bizarre. There's no evidence. See, if you're going to make allegations, you need evidence. Democrats, morally superior Hollywood liberals, love to believe anyone against Trump, but they're so reluctant to believe anyone that goes up against mashed potato brains Joe or his son or anyone else. So we live in a world where the alleged value system of the virtuous, highly educated liberal Democrat is believe, except when it's against Joe. Except when it's against mashed potato brains Joe. But if it's against Kavanaugh or Trump, absolutely believe. And so you can't have that. You got to have evidence. If you're going to accuse somebody of anything, you need evidence. You believe the evidence. And you believe the allegation because it's backed by evidence. Not just because you claim it happened and your politics or your side can win with the allegation. Depp filed a $50 million defamation lawsuit in 2019 against his ex-wife based on a 2018 op-ed she penned for the Washington Post, calling herself a public figure representing domestic. Okay, see, the thing is, you can't. The op-ed did not mention Depp by name. See, that's the point. I did a segment on that. but was oriented around the time Heard first leveled her allegations against him. You can't do that. That's something you can't. That's something you can't do. That's something you can't do. You can't write. You can't go ahead and write a. You can't go ahead and write a an op-ed in the Washington Post. Not, and then if there's evidence, then then she should have explained what the evidence was in the Washington Post op-ed. My God Almighty! It's news, everyone's talking about it. I'm gonna do a Durham segment. My God! Oh, it's something that the whole world's talking about. For the love of God, it's all over the news. For the love of God, I know it's not the Durham. It's not Trump. I get it. But it's still important. In 2021, Heard countersued her ex-husband for $100 million, an amount that Heard's closing argument revealed to be about sending a message. Both cases have been unfolding in court simultaneously. Heard's defamation claim pertains to public statements made by Depp's former attorney. See, again, it wasn't even about Depp. It was about his attorney that dismissed her allegations. The trial has been broadcast and live streamed via court and her outlets, including, so while waiting for the jury to reach a verdict, Depp joined English guitarist Jeff Beck on stage at a back-to-back concert Sunday. Model Kate Moss, who testified during rebuttal on Depp's behalf, reportedly attended a show and spent time backstage afterwards. Both Depp and Heard previously took the witness stand twice, each in their defamation trial, which has been watched closely by the masses and heavily discussed on social media. While testifying, Depp detailed his experiences with childhood, and that Heard became this other person during their marriage. Early in their relationship, Depp said Heard was attentive, loving, smart, kind, funny, and understanding, until Depp deviated from a certain behavior patterns he said she had established. At one point, Depp accused Heard of throwing a bottle that shattered his right hand and severed the tip of his middle finger during a 2015. So this is not like, it's not just one person. This is obviously a dysfunctional, it's a dysfunctional relationship. So it's a dysfunctional relationship where, both, like if there's like substance abuse, that's on both people. So you don't want to be with anyone who is engaging in that kind of thing. So in a way, it's not just Amber Heard. Obviously, it's Johnny Depp also. It's both of them. However, you can't take it to the next level and say, okay, I'm with a monster if you yourself were also a monster. Or, you can't, and if you do take it to the next level, you need evidence. So that's the thing. You need evidence. And you do need evidence. That's I think what this is about. If anything, Amber Heard has shown the world that when you make accusations, you need evidence. And I think that even if you're not interested in the case, it's an important thing to understand. You can't just go ahead and claim that something happened. Even if it did, if you don't have the evidence to back it up, and someone else loses, financial opportunities, you'll very likely lose in court. Now, again, there's certain type of crimes that I think capital punishment deserves. The virtuous liberal who will scream at the rooftops about how wonderful they are, they won't think that, and then they'll say they're on the side of justice. I think certain, despicable acts deserve capital punishment. However, there needs to be evidence. You can't just accuse people without evidence. So the former Pirates of the Caribbean star also claimed that Walt Disney Studios cut ties with him after Heard Washington Post essay came out. And so that is why he won. That's why he won. You can't go ahead and you can't go ahead and accuse somebody and then have them lose a gigantic part. See, what Amber Heard did was, there was several years back, there was rightfully so, a kind of starting in Hollywood, these despicable directors, one in particular who's in prison, started a movement where people are going to like speak out about their experiences. That's good. But if you're going to speak out, you need to A, have evidence, and B, if you're going to make the accusation clearly without innuendo. So she wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post without naming Johnny Depp, or without providing any evidence, or without stating that, hey, you know what, Johnny Depp did this, and here's the evidence, and I'm telling the world. She never said that. That was the problem. That was the huge problem. If you come out, and the thing is, you don't write an op-ed that's basically ghostwritten by an attorney. You don't do that. Not that it was, but it seemed to be. You don't write an op-ed that seems to be ghostwritten by an attorney. You don't do that. And if you read the op-ed, it's very vague. And then there's an article prior to that by a friend of theirs. So it's a lot of, I speak because nobody else can speak. And like, it's like, that's important. But at the same time, at the same time, it's like, you have to go ahead and you have to have evidence if you make a claim. And if you're going to accuse somebody in the Washington Post for the whole world to see, understand that Walt Disney will probably cut ties with the man. Okay, and if you, from Johnny Depp's perspective, it's like, he probably wasn't perfect in the relationship at all, but he wasn't the monster that she claims. And, if he wasn't the monster that she claims within the op-ed, then why did he lose his job? He made that franchise. So that was like, he would go to hospitals and like children's hospitals dressed as Jack Sparrow, and you could see that, on YouTube. So yeah, it's a very interesting case. Culturally, like, the more people look into it, it's a very interesting case, because it kind of, it makes certain that if you don't provide evidence, you're going to lose a defamation case. Now, you could say that because both of them are famous, Johnny Depp being more famous, you had people who were willing to believe each of their stories more so than if they weren't famous. You can kind of like look at things in different ways, but here it's strange. The former Pirates of the Caribbean star also claimed that Walt Disney Studios cut ties with him after Heard's Washington Post essay came out. It's very strange. One day you're Cinderella, and in 0.6 seconds you're Quasimodo. Depp said on the stand, referring to the toll Heard's public statements allegedly took on his reputation and career. I didn't deserve that, nor did my children, nor did the people who believed in me for all these years. So there you go. And that's Hollywood. You have to understand, this is like Revco starting off the super chat. Revco, thank you as always. Funny dog and pony show, but all it really shows is how messed up and narcissistic people can become. Exactly. I do agree with you. It's not like Johnny Depp, to me, was the more believable person, and he's probably a very nice person. Within that relationship, though, it was definitely dysfunctional, not something to, emulate. I think Johnny Depp is probably one of the better people in Hollywood as a human being. I think Alec Baldwin is probably not one of the better people in Hollywood, interestingly enough. Like, he accidentally ends someone's life. And, all you hear from the district attorney in New Mexico is, well, we did an informal test. And, oh, by the way, the Colt 45 could accidentally go off in the manner he claimed. Yes, and what does that even mean? You don't even know if what he's saying is accurate. It's like unbelievable. People are given the benefit of the doubt in the most absurd manner in Hollywood. You don't even know if what he's saying is true. Okay? It's Alec Baldwin's word versus the reality that doesn't happen. That never happens. So, could he be telling the truth? Yes. Is it likely? I find it very difficult when the least likely event is then turned into the most likely event. And that happens all the time in politics especially. Well, there's actually a 2% chance that this could ever happen. So it happened. Because somebody said it happened. So he accidentally ends someone's life, and we'll see. Probably will get out of. He'll probably get out of any criminal charges, involuntary manslaughter, or he might get charged. Who knows? It's been forever. I don't know. I don't exactly know what they're waiting on. It's been since October, so it looks like he's not going to be charged, which would be interesting because very few of the safety protocols were followed. And the armor was not even there. So, but that's Hollywood. That's Hollywood. Revco, thank you so very much. To my super chat. I can't do this without you, ladies and gentlemen. To my super chat, thank you. Thank you, Revco. Thank you very much. Yeah, this is an important, ladies and gentlemen, this is an important story. I mean, I understand my viewers don't really care. Generally, and I understand I talk about politics. By the way, I have a very important segment on fuel shortages on the stock market crash channel, and also insider sales, billions of dollars worth in insider sales on the Bitcoin crash to 10,000 or lower channel. So, thank you, Revco. Greatly appreciated. Thank you. During her turn on the witness stand, Heard told her side of the story. She accused Depp of verbally and, okay. Then Heard also alleged that Depp. Okay, so pretty bad stuff. In addition to the alleged allegations, Heard maintained that Depp micromanaged her career by evaluating scripts she received and prohibiting her from accepting roles that involved romantic scenes or revealing costumes. Okay. As a result, the remarks from former Depp attorney made about her to the press, Heard said she received harassment and was forced to relive the trauma. Okay. Just, the thing with social media, and that's why I got off Twitter, because I got a threat on me, on Twitter, on my life. If you are like, nobody really knows who I am, which is fantastic. And if you have any opinion, if you are famous in any way, shape, or form, I'm not famous at all, thank God. I enjoy, like, being able to go anywhere and like, just, like, because, like, very few people, I've had very few people say, oh, okay, are you HA, very few people. And that's great because I enjoy, like, anonymity. It's fantastic. And so, but when I was on Twitter or Facebook, you're going to be attacked online every day. Every day someone is going to try to provoke you. Every day someone is going to try to threaten or provoke or insult or demean you. It really doesn't matter what side of the political divide you're on. Especially, like, they'll get the benefit of the doubt, though, if it's a Democrat going after a Republican. They'll definitely get the benefit of the doubt. But that's why I got off of Twitter. Because I got off of Twitter because no, the Durham is not. Durham has another trial. He just lost one trial. He has another trial. The Durham probe will continue. It's not ended. Like, this is the thing. They're trying to say now, oh, it's a big loss. It's a big loss. It's not really a big loss at all. The Durham probe special counsel is there to get people who conspired against Trump. That's not a conspiratorial theory. The conspiratorial theory is that people didn't conspire and they just worked independently. That's the absurd. That's the absurd. Hello, Cindy. Hello, everybody. J Spot. Hello. That's the absurd theory. The absurd theory is that everyone worked independent of one another and just happened to really worry that Trump could have been implicated in a Steele dossier purchased by Clinton. You know, that's the issue. That's the issue. Ronald, hello. It's like, that's the issue. The issue is that there are big fish to fry. Exactly. I'm glad that he's trying to do something. That's the point, Revco. That's a great point. Durham is up. That's a great point. Durham is up against a lot. He's up against he's up against an entire system. He's up against an entire system. So you can't go ahead and you can't claim that. You can't go ahead and say that, well, you know, there was, you know, nothing, you know, we lost the first trial. But see, the thing is, Durham is trying his best, or he tried. The problem, however, is that his strategy was terrible. Terrible strategy. He knows now. Exactly. Durham is not done. He knows now that what he needs to do is ensure that the credibility of the government, of the Bureau, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, you can't rely on the credibility and honesty of FBI officials. That's like relying on the credibility and honesty of Hollywood executives. It's not going to work. You cannot rely on the credibility and honesty of people who have ulterior motives all the time. They wanted to get Trump. They did. They hid behind what he has to worry about is the following. He cannot, so he absolutely cannot, Durham, he absolutely cannot utilize government witnesses and claim that the government was duped. He can't he can't utilize the government who worked alongside government officials that worked alongside Clinton. He can't simply say, "Oh, these people were duped." Oh my goodness. You just can't do that. You just can't do that. You can't say that people were duped when they weren't duped. That's a huge problem. That's a huge problem. And I think that when Durham changes his strategy, things will be better. Like, he has the Igor Danchenko trial. The Igor Danchenko trial is upcoming, and the Igor Danchenko trial is an example of a case where he has to prove that a political operative lied while compiling the Steele dossier, lied about the Steele dossier as a source. Okay? Lied about a Steele dossier so that government agencies can utilize it. But now Durham's up against the same problem. The same exact problem. Okay? He's up against the same exact problem. If he does not convince that the jury that the United States government was deceived by this Steele dossier, he'll get another loss. But again, it's like the Sussman defense was a very bizarre defense. The defense was, well, everyone was lying and everyone was in on it. So there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back at around 4 o'clock, 4:15 or so. I'll either have a live stream or I'll have an upload. But I will have a live stream tonight at around 9 p.m. So be here at 9 p.m., ladies and gentlemen. I will try to have perhaps another live stream in the meantime. So, or I might do an upload. I might go ahead and do an upload, ladies and gentlemen, in about an hour and a half. So be here at about 4 p.m. or so, 4:30 p.m. And definitely be here at around about an hour and a half or so. 9 p.m. Pacific time, I will have 9 p.m. Pacific time, I will have a live stream tonight on the Durham Probe Special. And Ronald Foose will go for 5 more minutes. If you want, we'll just go for 5 more minutes. Ronald Foose, thank you, Ronald. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you so very, very much, Ronald. We'll just go 5 more minutes, wrap this up. And to my super chat, I cannot thank you enough. Revco, Ronald Foose, thank you. Thank you, Ronald. Yeah, I mean, the Durham Probe Special Counsel is not... Thank you, Ronald. We'll talk about the Durham Probe for about 5 more minutes, then we'll go. Thank you, Ronald. Thank you so very, very much. Revco, thank you again. And my super chat, thank you. I can't do this without you. The Durham Probe is not going away. My God, it's just... The strategy was not a good strategy. He learned that what he was doing wasn't going to work. That's all. He learned that Durham learned that he cannot rely on the credibility of the government. End of story. End of story. He can't rely on the credibility or the honesty or the integrity of the government because the government has very little integrity, honesty. Roger Rabbit, hello. Honesty, sincerity. He can't rely on that. James Baker, literally, James Baker, testified that he was 100% certain, Ronald and Revco and everybody here, that he was 100% certain that Sussman lied to him. But it turned out to be a he said, she said situation. Okay? Nobody, like, if it's the word of Sussman or James Baker, the jury was going to side with Sussman because they're not going to believe that James Baker was truly deceived. Thank you so very much. Stop, listen, think. Thank you. They're not going to believe that the jury was deceived in any way, shape, or form. They're not going to believe that. They're just not going to believe that. So that's the issue. The issue is that you can't go ahead and you can't go ahead and try to convince a jury that the United States government was not in on setting up and framing Trump. they're not going to believe that. So what he has to do is indict government officials. I mean, he should have started with government officials before everyone else. Because Sussman, he didn't realize that Sussman was going to say, hey, the government knew. And the government was in on it. See, he probably had no clue. This is like one of the first time. See, also, the Mueller probe was about retribution. When they got people, he tried to go ahead. What he tried to do is he tried to repeat the strategy that Robert Mueller had. Robert Mueller didn't need to prove that Trump worked with another country because he knew that he didn't. The Mueller probe special counsel was about retribution and revenge. That's what it was about, retribution and revenge. The United States government set up and framed an incoming candidate. And that's called a conspiratorial theory by the people who had no evidence. So the same people who were like, everyone, you would have to believe, Daniel, hello. I don't think it was a fix. No, I think that he tried, but he just failed because the strategy was wrong. He tried to duplicate what Mueller did, but you can't duplicate what Mueller did. You can't duplicate what Mueller did. What Mueller did was retribution. All he needed was public relations. Like every indictment, the way half the country thought of it was, they're lying to the Bureau. They're lying to the FBI for a reason. It's for a reason. There's some more information out there that's being withheld. And so the suspicion was off the charts. The people who think that the Durham probe is a conspiratorial theory are also the people who believe the Steele dossier is accurate. Those people are ignorant. So, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. Ronald, Revco, everybody. I think I might do a live stream at around 4:30 or so. I might do a live stream at 4:30. I'm not sure, or an upload, but be here. It'll be about the Durham probe special counsel, ladies and gentlemen. Be here. Thank you so very much. I'll see you at around 4:30, everybody. Be here at around 4:30. Be on this channel.